Hello. Hi, I'm Scott Schubert, and welcome back to Live Session. Me, Scott Schubert, Trading Master, and just joining us for time, may asking yourself, what is this about? What is the purpose of this? And we have a very exciting purpose, very unusual, very rare, and one of the probably only places you will ever see happen in the world. That is that I am here to show you how to trade financial any of the financial markets, including Forex, ores, stocks, commodities, gold, oil, just about any trade. I show you how to do that. And from what I have experienced, this ability to do that is an extremely rare. Not very many people are able. So right now I'm hoping that broadcasting good time to check and broadcast. So, but maybe I'll just go ahead and just do this, not knowing whether talking to anyone or in talking to the wall, as I sometimes do. Okay, by the way, we've been having these live sessions. We started this, and not very many people are aware of it. And we're having a every Thursday at what would be 6:30 p.m. New York time. No, a.m. New York time. What would be 6:30 p.m. in the time zone of Perth, Australia, or live moment. I think I'm gonna sneeze. Okay. That's live, but when I sneeze, I can't just somehow edit that out live. But that would be like 6:30 p.m. in the time zone of Perth, Australia, or Hong Kong, Thailand, Asia, Shanghai, China. Anyway, sure not everyone is in either of those time zones, but you can use either of those to figure out what time that would be in your time zone. And if you're a person, uh, this might help because I have this compressor thing on that if I'm not close enough to the mic, it probably just cuts it off. So let's see if this works better. And maybe our admin part of our team will see what's happening with that because I can't see any of that stuff right now. But what I was talking about, let me know what time zone you're in, and if you think that you would like to have these live sessions at a different time, you could consider it. But right now, this is probably the only time that I can do it. But the good thing is that these things are accessible after they're actually live, and you can still participate, interact, you can get the content, and you can leave your comments even after the fact. So what we've been doing here, as I mentioned, that this is extremely rare. I've never seen, well, first of all, I've never really seen anybody in the trading industry who really knew how to trade. And that, so consequently, haven't seen anybody really show how to trade either. Just a lot of, BS. And When it comes to trading, people will teach you all kinds of things to keep you entertained. And I certainly went through that myself and looked at things, sometimes used things in trading for, a long time. Like after looking at something for like a year or so, then I suddenly realized this isn't actually showing me anything. And but you don't really pick that up at first because all these different techniques and so forth, you're taught, oh, look at this, when this crosses this, or when this bounces off of this, and that, that really showing, it's not showing anything in most cases. And so when you step back, and you see what really is showing you what the market is doing, and then you go and look at those things you were looking at before, and then you think, oh, so now I see why it seemed like a total hit and miss. Sometimes, and that's what everybody says. Okay, we got this trading strategy, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's just the way it is in trading, and you just got to manage your risk, and manage your risk, and just keep doing it. But no one ever really shows how you can really tell with a high probability if a market is turning and what pattern it's forming and when that pattern is turning. And a lot of people don't even know that the market forms patterns, and they're not even looking at that. So they got all these things on their charts. It gives them something to look at, and they can sure focus on it, and they can sure sit there and trade and pretend that has something to do with the results that they're getting. But the sad thing is that can just run on for many years while people are losing money in their accounts, and they're paying money to buy training and to buy different products and so forth, and it keeps them entertained. You're looking at a chart, and you're excited. Oh, look, here comes this euro dollar, and is this going to be an entry? And there it goes. And you're not even in many cases, you're not aware of what would actually tell you if the market is turning, if it's continuing in the same direction, and the stuff that you're focusing on isn't even related to that. And people can get involved in that and go on and on and on, not just for days and weeks, but for months and years. People can be completely immersed in trading strategies that have nothing to do with whether the market is turning, and it's just kind of a flip of a coin. And that's why industry-wide people kind of act like trading is just a flip of a coin, just a random thing, because they can't see things, they don't know how to read things, and that's a very sad thing. And when I'm looking at charts, I'm just wondering, why can't people see this? And I think that people can see it. So we've had already a series of these live events, and what I started off doing was to go ahead and just share with people honestly, if I could really just describe and demonstrate to you and show you for real how you can tell if the market is turning and if it's not turning. I showed the 7 things that are used to help you to identify if something is turning or not turning. And my expectation is, once that starts to sink into your mind and you're looking and you're gathering a little bit of experience with that, you're going to start to see that it's true. And the way that you're going to see that it's true is by looking at charts. And if you look at charts, sooner or later, you'll go, hey, that's true. What that guy said is totally true. And here it goes again. And if you are looking at charts and paying attention to what I'm talking about, there should be no way that that it would be possible for you to not become aware that what I'm telling you is true. The only way that you could possibly come to a conclusion that it's not true is if you're blind, if you if your brain is shut off. And for a lot of people, the brain is shut off because of negative thinking, and negative thinking will just shut it off. And there are many ways that people can shut off their brain intentionally, and they want that unconsciously. So they'll do things like just say, "Hey, that stuff, I've heard of that doesn't work," or anything that would enable you to shut it off. So as soon as you shut off the ability to take in new information with an open mind, then you won't be able to have success, and you will have chosen to fail. And you don't realize that that's what you're doing. You don't know, oh, I'm choosing to fail, but that's an unconscious thing. So I want to take a look at some charts because there's a lot of stuff happening, and this is extremely exciting. We may be seeing some very important turning points that are now starting to happen. One thing is that US dollar pairs, they keep on stretching out, but there is, first of all, to see this, my goodness, just if you are familiar with normal pattern shapes, those of you who are familiar with them, you can see that this is on the US dollar index, non-weighted version of it on the weekly time frame. This is really the exact shape of a classic 5-wave trend, and then an A, and then a B, and if you're not familiar with that, you should be, because that's what markets never stop doing. If you want to know how to read financial markets, you would want to see that they make trends, because if you don't know that, what would you be basing your trades on if you don't know what markets do? Well, what markets do is they form trends, they form corrections, and there's a certain shape and there's a certain pattern. And for people who are aware of that, you can read it. People who choose not to be aware of it, they won't be able to read it. And if you say you can't do that or something, then you won't be able to do it. But for the people who can see this, you can see this is a classic shape of an A, B. If I go to the next shorter time frame, this is a weekly. Just stop me if any of this is not clear. Then you will see a very distinct shape of a series of waves. And since we know that this really is a corrective movement going up, that here's the impulsive movement down, 1 2 3 4 5 of an A, and you don't have to count anything, but you can see the obvious shape. If anybody cannot see this shape, I would encourage to put your eyes in this area and then notice if there is anything there. If there is anything there, what shape is it? And then if your eyes are focused on this area and you see that there's something there on this chart, and you see that it has a shape, well, then you will have seen what it is that I'm talking about. It may not have any meaning to you yet, but like I've been saying in each of these sessions, that learning to read the market is, when I say read the market, it is reading it, and the way that you read it is to recognize the shapes that are being formed, exactly the same as when you were in kindergarten or the first grade and you were being taught the letters A, B, C, etc., and what those mean and what those shapes are, and how you can put them together to make words, and how you can put words together to make sentences, and so forth. So that's you can look here and you can see without putting any in fact, let me just kind of cool. Well, that might be what that is. But what I think this is A, A, B, C, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of C, and that's about to turn. So if you look at this on the weighted index, which is, the normal US dollar index, which I don't have on this chart. You can see the shape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, anybody, if your eyes are focused in this area of the chart, you will see a shape, and you don't need to count anything to see the shape of that 5-wave pattern and know that it's a 5-wave pattern. You don't have to count anything. And that could be getting very close to a turning point. For longer time frames, it could be coming to a turning point. It may just keep on going. It's possible for that to break through there and for this to become a different pattern that's not a corrective B or something like that. But for now, this is very likely for this shape, as I have gone down to the 8-hour and I see the 5-wave shape that is there with the exact shape of a last wave or a 5th wave. I have been noticing that it's possible that this is about to turn. And when I get down into even shorter time frame, it's not clear with this shape, and it kind of makes me think that it's going to keep going. So now obviously we don't see long-term turning points every day, but we still trade. So if we happen to be having or about to have a possible long-term turning point, that's an unusual thing. It's a very exciting thing, because when something is turning on the daily or on the weekly, that's very exciting because you don't see that every day, right? If you look at the daily, how often would you see something actually turn on the daily? Maybe once every 3 to 6 months. Yeah, and how often would something make some kind of a turn on the weekly? So kind of get an idea about when these things happen. There's a great big pattern. I don't really know that we want to go into this too much, but I have just gone to the monthly, and there is a shape of an uptrend. Then there is this shape going down that could be a correction to that uptrend. And when we notice the way that it has subdivided, hopefully none of our traders who are actually interested in learning how to make money are starting to fall asleep and wait a minute, what's he talking about? Because I'm starting to talk about charts, and maybe it's hard for some people to follow and to maintain your attention. So I try to figure out a way to make this exciting, because it is freaking exciting. So let it be exciting for you. So don't go to sleep on me if I start talking about a chart, but notice that this is 2 series of 5-wave shapes going down, divided by this corrective shape here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we actually figured out that that is likely to be the C wave of this big thing on the monthly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then anyway, we don't need to go into that in too much detail right now, but this right here that I'm now looking at the daily is very likely to be the final leg of a great big pattern. So now we are focusing in on that and what's happening inside of that on time frame shorter than the daily. What is that? If I go to a time frame shorter than the daily, what will that be? Of course it will be a trend, because you can see that right here. Now if I go down to the 8 hour, what's going to appear on this chart? I can't wait to see. Oh wow, notice what just appeared. There is a beautiful shape. In fact, to see that even more clearly, I might want to go into the 6 or 4 hour range. Wow. Have you ever seen this shape before? Okay, now, since I can't yet draw on this chart, I'm gonna just step over here, and what was it? It was kind of, we have the shape, it kind of looks like that, and inside of the one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, for those of you who can read charts, and do you know what I'm talking? If anybody ever says, I don't understand, it's just a chicken scratch, and say, well, okay, go on, do something else. This is not for you. If you can't see these shapes, okay, do something else. But for me, I see them and I'm making money from it, and I can show it to you. But if your mind is closed, you won't be able to see it. Have you ever seen something and it had a shape like this? Is that hard? Like when you're learning to read the alphabet and someone said, can you see that? Would you say, no, I can't see that? Or if somebody said, can you see that? Would you say, no, that's just chicken scratching, I can't see that? Can you see any of these shapes here? Unless you're a complete idiot, you can see it, right? And you know what they are. So don't act like you can't see it, right? You can see it. And you can see what I'm talking about right here, too. So every person in the world can see this shape. There's no person who can't see it. Okay, now we have established that no person in the world can look at this and say, I don't see that, unless you're blind, right? And no person can say, I don't understand what, that's just chicken scratching. If you do, you're just making that up. Just the same as you would be making up some BS if somebody put this on here and then you said, there's nothing there, that's just chicken scratching. If you're an illiterate moron, that would be chicken scratching. But for everybody else, you can see that and you can see that. Okay, so in case before this didn't have a meaning to you, welcome to day 1 of reading financial markets. Hi, I'm Scott Schubert with Trading Mastermind, and today we're going to talk about how to read financial markets. For those people who have never, ever even thought about how to read financial markets, this will be the first thing that you will want to know. This shape. Okay, once you see that shape, then now you can move forward, and, we know the letter A, we know the letter B, and now we can start, the process. We can begin the process of how to read stuff. So now when I'm looking at this, do you see it on here? Or did it disappear? Or you can't see anything? You do see something right in here. And do you also notice that the same shape is inside of this wave 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is not quite as clear, as the first one was. Okay, not as clear to me either, but the entire thing has the shape of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice that these shapes are not about counting things, Just as if you went to the street and we were talking about human beings and someone said, there's human beings going down the street, you go, where? And then, like, if somebody was standing here, you would not run up there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that is a human being. Nobody would do that because that would be stupid, right? No, people, that is nothing to do with whether there's a human being, right? That doesn't make any sense. If you saw human beings going down the street, you would just go, hey, there's human beings. So when we're looking at charts, like here, we can see this is a trend, but we don't know that it's a trend because we're counting it. So we know that it's a trend because of the overall shape of it. So if you can see those things, then you can see, for instance, why in one of our previous sessions, this had just happened and I said I just went short right here. And the reason that I went short right there is because I identified that was an end of a correction. And to me, that's the most obvious thing you could ever imagine. How could you not know that that was the end of a correction? So that's where I went short. And that's one of the benefits of doing these live things is, whenever this was, I was on here and it was not at the moment that I had gone short. It was an hour or so later that I joined in here. I said, I just want to show you, that I just recently went short here. So now you can see that really there are two places also went short right here. So these two places went short, and those were the only two places that I went short. Those, to me, those are the two turning points. And that's because not really quick enough to use this, but this is like a wave 4 in a downtrend. I don't know. This gonna let's not put that stuff on there, but ABC of 4. This is typical everyday thing that happens in all charts. Everything that ever forms anything in the financial market, you're gonna make a wave 4, and then many times you're gonna make an ABC. So this was just an obvious thing. Now, if it's not obvious to you, it could be if you studied charts and you learned about what financial markets do. There are people who have been trading for 30 and 40 years and they're not aware of what markets do because they haven't focused on their attention has never been on that. In fact, there are some professional traders in the world. I could be showing this to right now. They don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. You say that's an ABC of 4. Well, they might say, I'm full of it or something. But just so that you'll know, if you see this stuff, let me know. And we put your comments below and say, I see that. Or let me know, I couldn't see that. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then we can go into more detail with how you could see this and recognize it. Can you see that this is an ABC of 2 over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, boom. It's just regular thing. Oh, financial markets don't actually make Elliott wave patterns. That was another thing people have said. Intelligent people have said that. Okay. So that's okay if it's not doing it for them, but it's doing it for me. So that's all that I'm worried about. Not that I don't care. I wish it would do it for you, but I know that it's doing it for me. But if it's not doing it for you, maybe you could call your chart provider, your data provider or something, try to get something fixed there. So anyway, you can see that. Now, today, this is just barely a beginning. Could you see anything I was talking about today? You see any of the stuff on this chart? Is it there for you? Can you see anything? And when I change time frames, do you see things? Do you see things now? Do you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down? I'm on the daily. Now I go to the 4 hour. Do you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 5? What does that mean? Does that have any meaning? Will something happen whenever this forms on a chart? Let's see. Well, what I'm predicting is I've been thinking that within a matter of days, there's going to be a humongous turn. Sometimes I think, well, maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. Maybe it's really not going to turn. It might turn while we're sitting here today, but probably in the New York session. And we will have wrapped this up before the New York session starts, because I'll be going into another live session. This is all I do, is just trade and be in live sessions. And I guess I'm glad maybe that's my passion. Somebody's got to do it, right? We could be right on the edge of it turning. I'm seeing signs that, this is a little premature, but it could be about to turn. And so here I am talking live to the freaking wall. I don't know if anybody's out there, because we who knows about these things yet. And I kind of like it that way, maybe just 1 or 2 people out there. And I don't really need to say that the market's going to make a big turn right now or something like that in order to be trading and getting good results from trading. But I will say that it is very probable that we are right on the edge of a very significant turn that could be a turn on the daily and the weekly for all US dollar pairs. And there are some other things that are happening that actually I've been thinking something is about to happen in global financial markets. And why is it that we've seen all the Aussie pairs, all the Kiwi pairs, all the pound pairs, all the US dollar pairs forming similar patterns that could be coming to an end? I don't know about the pound pairs, because they may just be stretching on out for a long time, and it's definitely very risky to be considering. Like when I go to the 8 hour, I see a shape of a trend that may be in the 5th wave in that trend. Can you see that? This is a pound Swiss. Let's look at some other one. Now, watch carefully, because if you see something, would that enable you to know how to trade? It sure as hell does for me. I don't know if it would for you, but if you see this shape right here, I mean, that would tell me how to trade. Other people, they're doing different things, but if you want to, one of the things that I often have mentioned is that if you could tell the end of a correction, and if you could tell the end of a trend, there would never be anything else in trading that would enable you to get better results. And still, people are just always thinking that there's some software, they want something to replace them looking at a chart and seeing this stuff, because they don't trust that and they don't believe in that. And so they want a software, they want an indicator, or they want a signal or some other thing. But if you could just suspend your disbelief, and could it be possible that you could look at a chart and see trends and corrections, and if there was an end of a correction or an end of a trend, you could see it and identify it? And if you could,
Would there be any way that you could get more profit than by seeing that? That's a question I always put out there. If you could see a trend, if you could see a correction, if you could see the end of a trend and you could see the end of a correction, would there be a way that you could get more profit? I've thought about it. Maybe there's some way. I just don't know what it would be. Test it, but the the concept of that, if you're not getting it, if you don't realize that that's true, then what are you thinking? Are you thinking something else? This is a subject that we could really explore. So anyway, there is a shape here, and it is a shape of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But longer term, all of these look like they're still going down. So what would that do? If I could draw on this chart, I can't. But this would then correct and then keep going down. So how do you trade? What's the trade? You go long, or what do you want to do? That's typically what traders are wanting to focus on. And if I actually reveal the very secrets of how to always be able to read the market and trade for the rest of your life while I'm doing it, people are tuning it out and then saying, show me how to trade. That's kind of weird, isn't it? People do that sometimes. Just show me how to trade. I'm showing you exactly how to trade. Then they're wanting me to show them how to trade or something. So what else could we cover today about how can you trade? I think these pound pairs are going to keep going for a while, but in the meantime, they all, in fact, this was just a short time ago, before this had turned up, I was showing that this was going to turn up, and it was obvious, right? And because, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turn, and that looks like that is the fifth wave on the 4 hours. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inside the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it just turned. But if I go out to a longer time frame, we can see evidence of what we know as the blasting effect already in process, because if this ended a correction on the weekly or monthly, then this will just more or less keep on stretching out on all shorter time frames. But along the way, it will form subdivisions. And here is one of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it might correct and keep going down. So the strategy for that is to now look for the correction that follows this trend, and then identify the end of the correction and go short. Using an entry like this, a turning point like this as an entry to go long, very risky, and it's better to tell beginners and intermediate traders the end of the trend is just not an entry. Don't look for that. Because if I tell you that you can enter at the end of a trend, but you have to distinguish different types of trends, then that's a little bit too much for a beginner to know. But I can show you how to distinguish different types of trends and which type you would enter at the end of, which type you would not. And then if you did enter at the, like right here, we knew this was turning. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is 5. So that means that this should make a significant size correction in proportion to this trend on the 4 to 8 hour. And it would go up to 38% or more of all of this trend, and that's the normal pattern that the market never stops making. So if that just happened, then pound Kiwi would now go up an amount of time that we could estimate and an amount of price that we could estimate as well. And so if you got any value out of this so far, love that live. I've been wanting to do that all through the now we got that out of the way, but there's probably 2 or 3 more coming. So now that we if you got any value out of this, or if you're thinking, oh, what did you just say? I didn't get any. A lot of people would do that too. They would say, you said you were going to show me how to identify how to trade or something. And so I'm sitting here actually doing it as honestly and as best as I possibly can. So hopefully nobody's going to say, why didn't you show me how to trade? You know, or something like that. So what part of how to trade would you like to know more about? Because if there's something you needed to know, you should be able to tell me specifically. You know, I see that you showed a trend and I saw that, and I can see that there's an end of a trend and I saw that. Tell me more specifically how you can identify, you know, something like that would make sense. But if you just said, why didn't you show me how to trade? That probably wouldn't make any sense. So next week, we are planning to have another one of our members, Damien from the United Kingdom, member of the European Union for now, and probably from now on will remain. Damien will probably be with us starting on, you know, we have Tuesdays and Thursday. And he is an extremely accomplished and knowledgeable and skillful trader who fortunately is better looking than I am, has a more pleasing accent, and just so that you can hear from another person who can show you exactly how to trade. You know, if something is turning, if it's not turning, what will be the next entry? That's what I want you to think about. And you take a chart of any currency pair and determine what's the next entry. And tell me what it is, and let's discuss that so that we could go over what is the next entry and on which time frame. Could you take all the pairs and determine what's the next entry on all time frames? That should be our goal that you should actually be doing every day. And if you can't do that, well, you must be in just the right place, because that's what we're here for, is for you to now be able to learn that. If you don't believe that you could actually do that, well, I guess you couldn't. But if you think that maybe you could, maybe all those people who say that they're doing it, they weren't just making that up, and that, you know, all these regular people who, after some practice and experience, reported that they're getting extraordinary results that a lot of professionals cannot match. If anyone has any sense of common sense, you would know that that's true. And then you would know that all those people are telling you their own experience, and just for a reason. So, any results that someone's getting increase is not a typical result. Typical result is to lose and fail, and no claim is being made that any person will ever make money, and trading is risky, and past performance does not equal future results. And you should read seriously people should know what they're getting into. It's you see all these people that I feel sorry for, all these people who are from very poor countries, and they come up with money to put into an account, who's telling them to do this? It's got the only people with a motive would be the brokers, and I think they ought to be shot, because uh, those people are poor and they're taking all their money and they're I'm going to trade Forex, and oh, I lost my, what did they think was going to happen? Because trading is something that it requires education, it requires training, it requires practice, it requires experience. You got to do it for a while, just like anything else in the world. Where do people get these ideas? So I'll let you know, if you're thinking about getting involved in trading and you've never done it before, don't think that you're going to just how much money can I make and get some money and throw it in there and think, oh, I'm going to get rich now. You will get rich, or you could get rich, if you develop a very rare skill that less than 5% of the people who ever attempt this ever gain. But otherwise, expect that you need to practice for a period of time and gain some important knowledge, like we're doing here tonight. And I'm just giving away some knowledge that if a trading firm were to hire, like if Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs were to hire someone to come in and train all their trainers, their traders, that is, man, I would have to charge a lot of money to teach people that. And I'm not really holding anything back here. So if there's anything that you would like to know about how we're doing this and what actually works, seriously, just let me know and we'll help you out. So you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will be joining here again on YouTube and Facebook Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you can't make it right at that time, you can always join later and still participate. And then just let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you in your trading path, to make it a little bit easier, get rid of some of the frustration or the disappointment that you may have experienced before. Okay, so you have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember to live your life deliberately, and when you trade deliberately also.